Cool. How many of you know about what is progressive delivery? Or have heard about the term progressive delivery? Like A/B testing, Canary releases, stuff like that. So, okay, so some of you actually don't know. So let me just start there, right? So what is progressive delivery? So fortunately the docs are pretty good. So
What's that? Oh, you have to just some right. Sorry.
Can you blow that up a little bit? Yes, blow it up maybe a couple of times.
So
I don't know, can people read that generally?
that's visible, right, guys? So progressive delivery is this way of introducing new software versions in your Kubernetes cluster, which minimizes the risk of something going wrong. So let's say you have version 1 up and running in your cluster, right? And then you make some bug fixes, you introduce some new features, and you have a version 2 that you want to expose to your end users. So instead of going from step 1 to step 6, directly.
What's step 6?
Step 6 is
Everything's version 2?
Everything is version 2, right? Instead of doing that, what you do is you take some fine-grained iterative steps towards going to step 6. So what this basically does is it reduces the risk of exposing new software to end users, and consequently it reduces the risk of exposing new bugs to end users, right? So this is one technique of how you can do progressive delivery. So what we do here in a Canary release is basically we leave the version 1 up and running, right? And then alongside the version 1, we stand up version 2. And we start directing a very small amount of traffic to version 2. So if you look at this step here, only 5% of traffic is going to version 2, and the rest of the 95% of the traffic is going to version 1. And what you need here actually is you need an observability stack. You need something like Prometheus or Datadog or CloudWatch, something like that up and running. What that enables you to do is actually verify that is version 2 working fine or not. So whenever you're working on a product, right, you have some certain SLOs or KPIs that you want to match, right, your own head. And what something like Prometheus allows you to do is verify that version 2 is actually hitting your SLO requirements. So Kingdom and I actually have a talk very similar to what I'm talking about right now. Tomorrow it's what Prometheus is, where we use Flagger and Prometheus to automate your SLO validation. So what you do is, now that 5% of traffic is coming to version 2, you check your Prometheus and you see, are there any 500 response codes, or is the latency less than 500 milliseconds for this version 2? And if everything is good, everything is going amazing, so we start increasing the traffic to version 2. So we start increasing the traffic from 10 and then up to 50%. And all this while we keep checking whether we are doing well based on our observability platform, right? So if all our metrics are being validated, we can say that version 2 is healthy, right? It's a good alternative for version 1. So what we can do is on step 4, we can start replacing version 1 with version 2, right? And since this Kubernetes, we do a rolling update, right? So that we don't have any downtime. So we had 2 pods of version 1, then eventually we had 1 pod of version 2, then we had 2 pods of V2, and now we're going to start doing a rolling update of V1, right? And we're going to keep doing that until we have all pods running V2, and now this Canary version, this beta version of deployment is receiving 0% of traffic. It's because the primary deployment is version 2 now, because we did a rolling update of that. And that is because we decided that 50%, when 50% of traffic was being devoted to the beta deployment, that was good enough for us. We were convinced that this version looks good, it looks great. So what we can do is we can start rolling it out to all of our end users. And then ultimately we end up with our primary deployment running V2. So this is in a very this is in a nutshell how you can do a Canary release. And what we did was, instead of jumping from step 1 to step 6, we made sure that we took some fine-grained, iterative steps towards going from step 1 to step 6 in a way that we can be more confident about what you're releasing. And like Kamau said something about deploying on a Friday, right? So, for example,